Good evening and welcome to October. That's right. Playoff baseball is finally here in H-Town. Good night, everybody. Welcome to the Fox 26 Sportstream. We appreciate you joining us. As always, I'm Sal Manine, sports producer here at Fox 26. We thank you for hopping on, whether it's on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, on Twitter, or of course on our website, fox26houston.com. We're glad you can come along for the ride as we are delving deep into all things Astros and the postseason, as it is finally on to the second season, the one that really matters for this franchise over the last 5 years, as they've become one of, if not the preeminent franchise when it comes to the month of October. We were at Minute Maid Park earlier today as the Astros went through a light workout, getting set for Game 1 Thursday afternoon against the Chicago White Sox. Remember, it's best of 5 in the American League Division Series, so we'll be checking in with what the players had to say. Also, a very interesting final weekend of the regular season, specifically for one of the best Astros to ever put on the uniform, and certainly one of the cornerstones of this Astros renaissance over the last few years. We'll check in, of course, with Carlos Correa and what he had to say on what was a very emotional final weekend of the regular season at Minute Maid Park. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Texans, but I think we all kind of know what needs to be said or doesn't need to be said after that 40-0 shellacking they took on the road this past Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. As I mentioned, it's postseason baseball time. The playoffs have actually already started. Yankees and Red Sox are already underway up at Fenway playing the American League wildcard game. That one is scoreless in the bottom of the first. Of course, the Astros would not meet either of those teams until the ALCS, and that would also mean that whoever wins the wild card upsets top-seeded Tampa. So no need to really worry too much about that if you're a Astros fan, but we'll keep our eye on that over the next few minutes. Also, the Rockets are in action right now, believe it or not. Doesn't seem like it's here already, but yes, the basketball season is also upon us. Preseason game number 1 as the Wizards are in town. Houston's up 24-14 late in the first quarter, but again, it's the first exhibition. Both teams are going to be playing a lot of young guys and a lot of the guys who they want to start to get a feel for. But in the case of the Rockets, that's pretty much the entire roster, save for a handful of veterans. So many young guys, so many new faces on this team, not just this season, but even going back to last year's, things were remade on the fly. So we will, of course, have the latest from Toyota Center for you tonight on Fox 26 News at 9. But, of course, we got to get into this matchup with the White Sox and the Astros. Again, Astros have home field advantage. Game 1 is set for 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon at Minute Maid Park. When you saw that chaos was avoided on Sunday and there was not going to be a 3 or 4-way tie for the American League wild card and it was going to be Yankees Red Sox, you had to figure that MLB was going to give most of the primetime slots and certainly the ones starting out to the top seed in the AL playing perhaps the 2 biggest television draws in the Yankees and Red Sox. That's why games 1 and 2 are going to be day games. Again, 3 o'clock on Thursday, Friday's matinee, 1 o'clock Central Time, and then Sunday, the first game in Chicago on the South Side. That'll be a night game. That'll be a 7 o'clock start for the Astros. But Dusty Baker already announcing who's going to get those 2 starts at Minute Maid Park. It's going to be Lance McCullers Jr. in Game 1 and Framber Valdez in Game 2. The White Sox declining to name their Game 1 starter just yet, so we will keep you updated once we know exactly what the Chi Sox are doing. They're scheduled to work out at Minute Maid Park tomorrow, so I'm sure we will have that answer sooner rather than later. But obviously, the White Sox can send 3 quality arms out there in Game 1. Lance Lynn, who looked like the front runner for the American League Cy Young Award until he got injured a few weeks ago, but he's back and healthy. Lucas Giolito obviously has been knocking on the door of Cy Young contention and winning 20 games and showing you why he was such a talented prospect as he was coming up with the Nationals, and then Carlos Rodon, the other option. That is the three-headed monster that sits atop that rotation for the Southsiders, and that's why they allowed the fewest runs in the American League this year. So it's going to be a matter of, can the Astros, with their offense that scored the most runs in the American League this year, can they keep doing that in MASH against what has become a fairly formidable pitching staff? Obviously, I mentioned the three starters, but then Liam Hendricks, Craig Kimbrell, who was the big trade deadline acquisition for the White Sox, and a local guy, Ryan Tepera, the setup man from right here in the Houston area, former Sam Houston State Bearcat, Brazos Wood High School graduate. But that's a very tough back end of the bullpen if the Sox are able to get things going, which is why I do think that this is not going to be a sweep either way. I do think this one's definitely going 4 or 5 games, and it's not going to be any cakewalk for the Astros. We can get into more of the X's and O's or just how they match up in a little bit. But first, let's hear from what the players had to say as they were out at Minute Maid this morning. I was up there with our sports director, Mark Berman. He has more on what was going on for workout number 1 of the 2021 playoffs.
Astros owner Jim Crane joined with Mayor Sylvester Turner to help kick off the Astros in the postseason this week in Houston.
We got a great team. I mean, we've got great stats. I think this team, with the most, they play well. They've had a great year, but the pressure's on. I think you can really count on this team. They've played in a lot of big games, and they've got a lot of experience, and that really plays well in the playoffs. So we're thinking we got a very good chance to go all the way. Got to get past the first game, the second game, the first series. It's a journey, but we're working on it.
I'm so pumped up. Look, here they are again. The Astros keep showing up in the playoffs. I never get tired of it. The people in this city never get tired of that. And they've had to do it against, in many cases, the odds. People across the country rooting against them. But this city has always and will always stand by our Houston Astros. I'm excited. We're excited. We're pumped up. And the White Sox on Thursday, Friday, they're going down.
One of the key roster decisions facing the Astros involves outfielder Jose Siri, who's playing with a fractured right pinky he suffered running the bases Friday.
Yeah, I can for sure play with that. An injury like that's not going to stop me. I'm a man and I can play with an injury like that. It's just a little bit of pain. It's nothing serious. It's not going to stop me. I feel good. I just hit. And I think I hit pretty well. I'm going to go work off the machine as well.
There is no debate about who will start on the mound in Game 1 for the Astros. Dusty Baker going with Lance McCullers Jr. It was pointed out to GM James Click that Dusty's fired up about that decision.
We're all fired up. When he is right, might be the hardest pitcher to hit in baseball. And he's obviously done it in the biggest moments, in the biggest stage, and that's a huge benefit for us.
He's our ace, and that's what aces do. They take ball in the game 1, so I'm looking forward to playing behind him, and he's built for these moments. He embraces them, and he goes out there, and he's a monster in playoff baseball.
Speaking of Carlos, he provided the media with a terrific story about a friendly wager he won with Zach Greinke related to the fact Carlos finished number 1 in WAR among all position players in the American League.
Beginning of May, I told Greinke, because he started using his new Gold Glove with the patch, and that was the first time he was using it. He didn't like it, so Maldi got to use it, and I said, Greinke, I need one of those for my house, for my trophy case. I need your Gold Glove signed by you. He said, no. I said, what do you mean no? He's like, if you finish in top 3 in WAR, I will give it to you. I said, bet. So from May to now, be able to finish first and get that Gold Glove from him, signed by him, dedicated to me, that was the most special for me. I was trying to do it for that Gold Glove from Greinke.
Michael Brantley believes the Astros have an opportunity to win another World Series title.
I like our chances. I'll say this time and time again. This is a veteran group that's been here, done that. They're experienced. They know exactly what we need to go out and do to handle business. I think that's special. I think that is a weapon. And, I wouldn't be on any other team. I love those guys in that locker room, and I love being here. So I'm very excited, to get this started.
Astros did it for us immediately after Hurricane Harvey. They're now doing it again when we are coming out of this 4th surge dealing with the coronavirus. So, look, show up. If you're not at the game, wherever you are, on Thursday, Friday, possibly Sunday, be rooting for the Astros.
It's been a great year so far, and so we know how electric it's going to be in the building on Thursday night. We're sold out Thursday and Friday, and we're ready to go.
Mark Berman, Fox 26 Sports.
As you heard, Carlos Correa with a funny little story about Zach Greinke and getting one of those special gold gloves. If you win a gold glove, Rawlings gives you a special one that you get to rock. And so now Carlos Correa, the owner of one of those. Speaking of Zach Greinke, Dusty Baker says it's still TBD as to what exactly his role is going to be, if at all, for this first round series. Remember, before the regular season finale, Dusty had kind of surprised people by saying, looks like Greinke's going to come out of the bullpen as he was dealing with some injuries. He gave up that big homer on Sunday against the A's, ended up not mattering as Houston was able to walk it off in the bottom half of the ninth. But all in all, he said that he liked what he saw from Zach Greinke on Sunday, but they're still waiting until they have until noon on game day to actually submit what their ALDS roster is going to be. So they're waiting to see on Jose Siri just how he feels. How does he fit into the mix for this? What is Zach Greinke's role going to be? Is he going to be a part of the bullpen? They're going to give him more time to rest up. A lot of the decisions that they still have to make. And as James Glick pointed out to us this morning at Minute Maid, unlike the regular season where you're 26-man roster, you have to think about you're playing 162 games, you're playing the teams in your division so frequently, you're traveling, you need all kinds of different options at your disposal. For the playoffs, each round, your roster needs to be tailored to how do I beat this one specific team. So with the White Sox and their lineup, especially, they can put a lot of righties out there and a lot of talented righties with the bat. Don't be surprised if maybe there's a couple things that you go, that's not what I expected or not what I was thinking as far as what the 26-man roster would look like. So again, still some time before the Astros will make that determination. I mentioned that this is a White Sox team that is much improved over certainly the last few years, but even from when the Astros played them earlier this season in June, July, the Astros took 5 out of 7 against the White Sox in the series, both here at Minute Maid and when they went to Chicago. But again, this is a much different team now, notably getting a guy like Craig Kimbrell into that bullpen to complement Liam Hendricks. And then really the biggest acquisition wasn't a trade line deal or anything. It was just getting guys healthy. And that's Luis Robert, the young center fielder, who's one of those many talented prospects who have now become everyday guys for the White Sox. He missed pretty much the entire summer, came back in August, and over his last 40 games to end the regular season, he's hitting .357 with an on-base percentage of nearly 400, OPS over 1,000 with 12 homers, 11 doubles, and 34 runs driven in that time, and showing you why he was one of the top prospects in that system for the White Sox, and he's starting to pay dividends. So this is not going to be the same team that the Astros were able to seemingly dispatch with such ease earlier on. And as we all know, it's playoff baseball. So every pitch, every inning is such a high leverage situation. Fortunately for the Astros, they're starting out with a guy who's been there before and who has gotten it done on this stage in Lance McCullers Jr. All right, I did mention it was a very, I don't want to say head-scratching, but certainly a newsworthy and attention-grabbing final weekend of the regular season. And that's because if you saw how Sunday's finale against the A's ended, it started with Carlos Correa going out onto the field all by himself, his teammates letting him be the first one to run out there and getting a chance to get a standing ovation from the crowd, tip his hat. Then eventually his teammates joined him. And then late in the game, because the Astros did have a comfortable lead in the ninth inning, Dusty Baker pulled Carlos Correa in the middle of the ninth inning so that he could get one last send-off and one last chance to tip his hat and to pay his respects to the crowd and vice versa. And the whole scene as emotional it was, and if you're an Astros fan, certainly gut-wrenching, knowing what Correa meant to this team over his time here as a former #1 overall pick, an all-star, and a guy who's been so clutch for them in the postseason, and such a big reason why they've won 2 American League pennants during his time with the Stros, and of course that 2017 title. The whole thing still looked like a guy who is not anticipating playing for the Astros after this postseason. When the playoffs end, when the World Series end, Carlos Correa becomes a free agent, and as things look right now, he's probably the best free agent on the market, and he has had his best regular season of his young career to date. And so a guy who just turned 27, entering the prime of his career, who's been healthy both this season and last, even though last year was only 60 games, everything is set up for him to be handsomely rewarded. And we don't know right now if the Astros are still going to be in those sweepstakes. Remember, they were trying to negotiate something during spring training, but then they ultimately broke the negotiations off right before the regular season began. And Correa said he's just going to sit and leave it there alone, play out the year, play out the playoffs, and then deal with all the negotiations. But even in the comments that he made to our Mark Berman before Sunday's emotional farewell, if you even want to call it that, all signs are pointing towards it's more likely than not that these playoffs are going to be the last time that Astros fans see Carlos Correa, or at least young and in his prime Carlos Correa, playing for the Astros.
When that moment gets here, it'll for sure be emotional, but right now I'm focusing, taking a day at a time. I don't want to make this all myself. I want to make this all the team, and I want to focus on winning. And, if I'm wearing the H across my chest every day, I'm going to focus on helping this team win another championship.
As for what the future may hold,
it's not up to me. So I'm, like I said, I'm just going to focus on playing baseball, helping the team, and that's all I'm thinking about right now. All those negotiations, all that stuff, is something that I'll think of in the off season. But right now, we still got a lot of baseball to play.
Carlos was asked how meaningful it would be to bring Houston another World Series title if, in fact, this is it for him here.
It will mean everything for this city, for the fans, for the Astros organization that gave me the chance when I was 17 years old, that they believe in me to pick me with the first pick overall. So I'll forever be grateful.
Correa doesn't hesitate when asked what the Astros, their fans, and the city of Houston mean to him.
They're family to me now. Coming from Puerto Rico at 17 years old, I was kind of scared at that point, and the city, the fans, the organization, they took care of me and they treated me like family, and I became a man here in this city, so it's always going to be special to me.
And Carlos's message to Astros fans.
The Astros fans, I will say thank you for all your support, not only on the field but also off the field. I feel your love when I go to a restaurant, when I go to the mall, when I go out, so it's forever be my second home.
Carlos Correa isn't the only key member of the Astros who doesn't have a contract beyond this season. Neither does manager Dusty Baker, who reiterated he wants to be back here in 2022 and was asked if he's had any dialogue with the club about returning.
Yeah, brief one, but I'm concentrating on just going as far as we can go and win as much as we can win.
Would you like to be back?
Yeah, I already said that. Yeah, how many times must you say it? But yeah, I don't know what the criteria is. I'm just going to do my job.
So it's not something that's on your mind, or?
Not really. No, it's on your mind, but it ain't the front of my mind. The front of my mind is winning. Everybody likes to know, what the future holds. Everybody likes that.
The only box Dusty Baker has to check in baseball is winning a World Series title as a manager.
That's why I'm here. You know what I mean? And I always said if I win one, I'll win two, and then if that's possible, then I'll get, the 2000. I'll be in the 2000 club too. We all have personal goals, but my main goal is to win the World Series, and then after that you get greedy, you want to win two, and then that might be enough.
That'll do it.
That'll do it.
Is that a hint?
It could be more than a hint.
Dusty's now won 5 division titles with 5 different teams, the most division titles with the most teams in Major League Baseball history.
I don't really think nothing other than why was I on so many different teams? I'm serious. I was just like, okay, what did I have to do to, I feel fortunate to have gotten that many jobs, but I feel unfortunate that I shouldn't have lost jobs when I was winning. You know what I mean?
And just to give you some perspective on what Carlos Correa may be looking at, two of the other premier shortstops in the game who signed lucrative long-term deals before this past regular season. Francisco Lindor, 10 years, $341 million from the Mets, and Fernando Tatis Jr., a 14-year deal with the Padres, $330 million. Correa, certainly better than Francisco Lindor this season, if not when you consider that he's won a World Series and has been a Rookie of the Year and is probably the front runner, if not going to be a finalist for the Gold Glove at shortstop in the American League. You can certainly say that, well, if Francisco Lindor is getting that kind of money, then Correa is certainly going to be in line for a big paycheck. So we will see what happens, but all signs right now, if you're reading the tea leaves, make it seem that this is the last hurrah for Carlos Correa in an Astros uniform. All right, very quickly before we get out, let's touch on the Texans. Again, just everything that could go wrong did go wrong up in Orchard Park this past Sunday against the Bills. 40-0 loss. They turned the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions from the rookie Davis Mills at quarterback. He looked like a rookie, and not just a rookie signal caller, but one who is a project at that. And that's what you knew you were getting when you drafted Davis Mills in the 3rd round. This is not a guy who was coming in as Trevor Lawrence, a generational talent, or the 2nd overall pick like Wilson, who finally got his first win with the Jets. This was a guy who you knew it was going to take some time. He was going to have plenty of growing pains, and perhaps maybe the Texans didn't even anticipate him taking over as QB1 as early as he had to as a result of the Tyrod Taylor injury. But this is what it's going to be for the Texans all year long. Yes, their defense is plucky. They play hard. And when Tyrod Taylor's healthy, he can do some special things out there. And Davis Mills at times looked good against the Panthers and against the Browns when he went in there. But for the most part, when you play elite teams and teams that are going to be contending for conference championships and Super Bowl appearances like the Buffalo Bills, this is what you're going to get. And maybe the final score, not perhaps indicative of just how bad it was. A lot of it was, the weather. It was cold and wet and rainy, and receivers not helping out Davis Mills at times. A couple of those picks were hit a guy and then bounced up in the air, but you have to give Sean McDermott and the Bills credit. That's one of the premier defensive minds and defensive units in the entire NFL, and certainly in the AFC. And they showed it against a team in the Texans that is rebuilding and retooling and still searching for a lot of answers. So at least another week that Tyrod Taylor has to be on the injured reserve list. And remember, the initial reports are it's going to be a month before Tyrod Taylor's back. So unlikely that you're going to see him this Sunday at NRG against the Patriots. And then even if he comes off IR, still remains to be seen just how soon he can resume his QB1 duties. But David Culley and the Texans saying right now they're going to stick with Davis Mills, and they got to find a way to help him out, especially with the run game, because he certainly looked the part of a rookie. And there's still a lot of very difficult games on this schedule, including Sundays against the Patriots team, who, while they are 1-3, they if you watch that game Sunday against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers and Brady's return to Foxborough, that 1-3 perhaps doesn't fully tell the story of just where this Pats team is. And they too, with a rookie signal caller in Mac Jones. So we will keep an eye on that as things roll along. All right, one last check of the wild card game. 2-0 Boston. They're in the bottom of the second. Xander Bogaerts took Garrett Cole deep. So a 2-run shot, that's where the Bo Sox got their scoring. And again, the winner will take on the Tampa Bay Rays. Astros, Thursday afternoon, will host the White Sox. Game 1, best-of-5 series in the ALDS. We will have it all covered for you coming up on Fox 26 News at 9. And, of course, our sports director, Mark Berman, has all the up-to-the-minute info on all things Houston sports on his Twitter account. He is at Mark Berman, Fox 26. All right, enjoy the postseason. We will do it again next week. For all of us here at Fox 26, I'm Sal Manine. We'll see you again soon.